Hello, friends and fellow adventurers. Welcome to my tabletop here. And today I am going to begin a brand new story going off of the character I made in my last couple videos, of course, that being Fless. And I thought it best to call this series, you could say, The Sins of Fless. A little bit of a play on words there. Not right on the nose, though. But it fits, and I like the vibe of what I kind of think this story is going to so far. This is going to be a bit more of a darker character than I've ever played. I'm going to do my best to think a little more chaotic, evil-esque actions and choices. Now, if you weren't in the character creation videos, we ended up making a hobgoblin woman. She's very matured. She's getting in her later years of life, so she's been around this cult. We rolled that her background was a cultist, and that the god or goddess in this case that this cult was centered around is Lamashtu, the mother of monsters. That being said, she is very, very closely tied to this goddess from what I see. She is a little bit shorter than the other hobgoblins of her ancestry. She's still taller than normal goblin of the Pathfinder variety. She's got the classic solid red eyes of the hobgoblin and the goblin ancestries. We know her appearance is very intimidating. I mean, given she's a rogue and she's a hobgoblin, that kind of comes by nature. Now, for her background, we rolled on a couple tables, and the words we got were gifts and career. That I just kind of took to mean that likely she was born into this life. She was gifted this kind of... Her parents were in the cult as well of Lamashtu, and hobgoblins in general are very war-oriented. But when we rolled up her motivation, we rolled take and we rolled change. Now, take fits really well into what I want to start this out with. I need to practice kind of like my looting of dungeons and things like that, collecting loot, selling loot, get a good rhythm down for doing all of that. But the word change might come into play at some point. Maybe she's trying to change who she was in the past. Maybe this is a redemption story. Also, maybe it's not a redemption story. Maybe she enjoys being the evil Lamashtu worshiper. I don't know yet. I don't know her. I haven't let the dice decide what she is yet. So we're going to get into that, and that can be fun, in my opinion. That's why I like making new characters and letting the dice figure things out. Other than that, she was born in Old Shelynites, which I have up here because I'm trying the look of this slide thing in the beginning. As I actually make episodes and we start building a fleshed out story, I'm gonna add extra slides just for major events that go on. Just for a quick little recap in the beginning of these videos, I'll see how that format goes and we'll go from there. Now, Shelynites, anybody unfamiliar with the Inner Sea region, is pretty much kind of like Europe on a map of Earth. Now, we don't know anything about where we're starting. We know that she's a cultist, so this is going to have something to do with the cult. We know that she's older, so she's been in the cult for a long time. So she's got to be highly respected in some manner. We also know that she has a horse. Now, this isn't mechanically like an animal companion, so she doesn't get any benefits in combat or anything right now. But again, with how I'm wanting to start this out, the horse is going to be there to obviously help her travel faster from point A to point B, and also to carry some extra weight of hopefully the items she's going to be collecting to bring back to sell to the merchants or to her. Maybe there's like a fence of some kind in their cult guild-esque thing. We don't know. We're going to figure that out. So, honestly, where do we start? We just kind of jump in. We do need characters. I have a physical printout this time of all the character lists and threads list. That way I don't have to switch back and forth too much up here. I have a digital version, but it's kind of not as easy to use in my opinion. So let's figure things out. I know I already said that, so let's actually do it. Now, where are we starting? She was born in Old Cheliax, but does that mean we are starting in Cheliax? I will leave that to 50-50, just because it's pretty likely. Not everybody travels a lot, and if she was born into a cult, and she's rising up through the ranks of this cult, it would make a lot of sense if she stayed in like at least the same area, maybe not necessarily the same city or anything. So are we starting in Cheliax? 50-50 on a chaos factor 5 gives it straight up 50 50-50 odds. At that 86 result is a no. So we are not starting in Cheliax. That being said, I don't think we're going to be starting far from Cheliax. So let's make this 50-50. We're either going to be starting north. Tell you what, we'll roll a d6. A 1 or a 2, it's going to be in the Eye of Dread up here. 3-4 will be in the Shining Kingdoms. 5-6, it will be somewhere in the Golden Road? Sure, why not? We'll leave it to fate. Those are our options. Eye of Dread, Shining Kingdom, and Golden Road. Let me get a good view there. Just for anybody visually paying attention. 1, 2, 3. That is going to be the Shining Kingdoms. Okay, so this is a very classic-esque medieval forests, plains, rivers. All your very classic settings are going to be found here. Now, where exactly are we going to be starting? Now, none of this honestly matters. This is all for thematics, starting points, names, small things like that. Just visual representation of where we're going to be at in this world. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 options. Going from top to right and down. And we rolled a 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The 5 Kings Mountains. Alright. Shining Kingdoms and the 5 King Mountains. That's not far over the border, so that makes sense. Is the 5 King Mountains where the kind of headquarters of this cult is based? Let's keep it 50-50. We're figuring things out right now. So yeah, is the headquarters of our Lamashtu cult based here in the 5 King Mountains? A 60 is also no. So we are here on a mission of some kind from the headquarters of the cult. Now we're just going to say that the headquarters of the cult is back in Cheliax without rolling for that, because that would make the most sense to me. I'm going to make a couple notes here. HQ of Cult is in Shelynites. Alright. So with our horse companion, we made our way from Shelynites to the Five Kings Mountains here. Have we been in this area for an extended period of time? I'll leave that 50-50 again, just to see, just kind of get a gauge of maybe why we're here. If we've been here for a long time, then obviously we have a big mission. If we just got here, maybe it's something quick. 50-50. Have we been in this area for a long time? 97 extreme no. We have not, so we just got here. With an extreme no, we just got here. Sorry for repeating myself. I'm just kind of hammering it in to my own brain. Did we come with anybody, or did we come alone? Did we come alone? I think that is likely, given our line of work. So that gives us, did we come alone? 40 is a yes. So we traveled here alone from Shelynites on our horse. Again, I'm going to be asking a ton of questions because I'm figuring literally every single thing out right now. So I apologize if you're just watching me roll or listening to me roll. Is Fless one that would give her horse a name? Now, the mother of monsters, that doesn't mean they dislike animals by any means. They're kind of set out to break the traditional mindset of what beauty is. They like the flaws in things. They like combinations and monstrosities. I'm gonna need to research a lot more on this so I can get a lot better grasp of Lamash 2. But alright, we'll make it 50-50. Does Fless have a name for her horse? For her horse. That is a 29, and that is a yes. So we'll figure out a name for that horse. There's actually a names table in the mythic tables. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to draw a name out of it, just the way they have it set up. But let's give it a try. I'll roll 2 sets of dice. So we have a 66, giving me ORN, so Orn, and 47 is La. La Orn, or Ornla. La Orn. Lorn? Okay, that's easy. I like that. Lorn. L-O-H? L-O-H? No. Doesn't really matter exactly how it's spelled, so we'll just L-O-R-N. Lorn. It's like corn, but it's Lorn. Lorn the horse. Alright, we have our first character on our characters list, and it's our horse. So, we traveled here alone to the Five Kings Mountains on our horse from our cult. Now, what is our purpose for being in this area? Were we sent by our cult? Is our purpose here related to the cult? I would say that is very likely, just because it's kind of how I already assumed it, but I feel the need to ask. So very likely, are we here on cultist business? 90, no. Man, I'm rolling a lot of no's. So we weren't sent by the cult. We're here on our own accord. Okay. Not sent by the cult just yet, but we have close ties. I'm gonna go ahead and call this myself and say that we weren't sent by the cult, but we are here for reasons related to Lamashtu. Now, that can set me up really good. So we're new to the area. We don't know anything about this area. We're in the Five Kings Mountains area, but that doesn't mean we're like necessarily at the summit of all these mountains where it's impossible to travel and everything. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna be willing to bet, I'm gonna say that we're kind of, somewhere in, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I forget I can ping. Somewhere at the foot of the mountains here, maybe a little south of this large forest, where there is a town. Obviously, we're going to be going to some sort of town. We're not just traveling to some lone mountain. We're not on a mythical quest just yet. So, fate chart, once again. I want to ask the fate chart, is this a large town that we are getting ready to arrive to? I'm seeing us, we're walking up on our horse. She's been galloping for days on end, riding to this location, to this specific town. Why? What motivated her to come here? Did Lamashtu herself speak to her? Did she see a sign? We don't know that yet. But is this a large settlement? 50-50. 0-1. It could not. I'm glad this is all on video. That could not be more. Extreme yes. Is this a large settlement? Extreme yes. It's a huge settlement. So it is an extremely large city, which is beautifully perfect because that really matches the kind of large city vibe I have for that background image. I love that. Okay. All right, cool. Awesome. So it's huge, big city. That makes sense. It's nestled here in this little kind of like V shape of the southern part of the Five Kings Mountains here. There's going to be a lot of dwarves, well, in the mountains themselves, but I would assume the surrounding areas. Alright, we could probably come into contact with some dwarves. I believe there's some connections to kind of the Underdark-esque area. Basically an entire civilization underground as well. But we're not worried about that right now. Maybe we'll get to that, maybe we won't. Large town. What is going to be the name of this large town? Let's figure that out real quick. I can just jump over here to fantasy name generator. Go to places and locations, yes. And we'll go to cities and towns, yes. And we'll go European city, fantasy town names. I like that. English, French, yeah, we want English. And I will do my little classic roll. There's 10 options. I'm going to roll a d6 and a d10. The d6 is how many times I'm going to randomize, which is 6, and I will take the third option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Swanvein. Alright. The name of this large town, this large city that we are coming up to, is Swanvein. Swanvein. Interesting. It's kind of, it has a beautiful feeling with the swan, but then the vein kind of gives it a bit of a dark pull. Let me get that written down here on my little character list. Swanvein. City. Large city. Large city of Swanvein. Off in the distance, Fless can see the beginnings of the larger buildings starting to pop up over the horizon. What time of day is it that Fless is riding into town on her horse named Lorne? Are we early morning? Kind of a classic early morning. 73 on a 50-50. I need to state my odds before I say it, but in my head I figure it out. I just don't say it out loud. Usually it's 50-50. But if 73 on a 50-50 is no, it is not early morning. So we're coming into town midday, dusk. I like dusk. It would be fitting for her. She knows that things start to quiet down as the sun begins to go down, and the pubs and the houses start to fill up, but the streets start to empty. So the sun is going down. Fless knows by the time she reaches town limits that it will have already been dark for some time. Fless begins to think about why she is here, why she rode Lorne so hard the past few days to get to this place, get to the city of Swanvein. So let's roll on our tables. Just doing a lot of rolling this session, this video, but that is why we are figuring things out. So let's figure out why she is here. I think description or action. It would be an action why she is here, right? She's here to do some type of action. So we'll roll on the actions table. If for some reason we can't extract any information, then we'll try another table. So for our first word, we have 14. 14 is block. All right, block. And our second word is 84. Strength. To block, strength. Beautiful, perfect. That can be taken 1,000 different ways. That one is, I feel like that's a very open-ended, which of course all these are, it should be, because that gives the biggest room for improvisation. So block strength is the reason we are here. Reason for being in Swanvein is to block and strength without thinking too hard, because I'm trying so hard to keep my momentum flowing, to not pause, not stop, and not have to edit these videos and actually have some form of confidence of what I'm putting out there. So nobody's just sitting there listening to me go, even though I'm aware I've said the word about 1,000 times so far in this video, but I digress. To block strength. To me, that immediately means Fless is coming here to block the strength, obviously, as I keep saying that, of possibly a rival cult. I think that is extremely likely. I like the sound of that, so nearly certain. That gives us 85 and below as a yes. Is Fless here in Swanvein to block the strength of a rival cult? 61 is yes. That is why she is here. Now, some of the... Is it... Again, I'm just rolling. But Shaylin is a very... It's almost the the polar opposite of kind of Lamashtu's whole thing. Shaylin loves beauty. Lamashtu loves scratching the fuck out of the beauty. Turning ugly into beauty and finding the beauty in ugly. A little... It is very balanced in an aspect that you could look at it, but a lot of people would view this in an evil way, but good and evil is relative, up to the eye of the viewer. But is it a Shaylin cult? Again, I'm going to say nearly certain because that makes the most sense to me. Is it a cult of Shaylin? I guess it wouldn't be a cult. It would be a church of Shaylin or whatever they feel like calling themselves. Is it Shaylin related? 58, yes it is. Of course it is. So the reason for being here is to block strength. To block the strength. of to block strength of Shaylin Church. All right. Now, though she came here alone, I'm gonna again. I'm not gonna roll on this because I feel like this has a big potential to set us up for building a bit of a foundation here in this town, figuratively and literally. She came here alone. Sorry, I get sidetracked and I usually make my way back. She came here alone to meet with a smaller cult of Lamash 2 worshippers here in, I almost forgot the name of town, Swanvein. Okay. I like that. Does she know the name of the better yet, I'm gonna say this is very likely, not nearly certain, but very likely. Does she know where to find this cult? Surely they would. That makes sense, but maybe not. Maybe she's like, okay, I know they're in this town, but she'll have to use maybe like some secret codes or something. Okay, I'll get to that if depending on this answer. So very likely, does she know where to find the fellow Lamash 2 worshippers here in town? 44. Yes, she does, and that is our first random event of the game. Perfect. Already popping out. Sometimes random events never show up. Sometimes they show up every other roll. So 44. She is here, and she knows where to meet these fellow Lamash 2 worshippers. So she is on her way to meet them. Other cult members. Sorry, I'm trying to write fast so that there's not much dead space in the videos. Thank you for holding on. She's on her way to meet other cult members. Okay, and we have our random event, and we need to random event. We need to roll to see the focus of the random event. So that's a D100 roll, and I have a little table in front of me. 23 is an NPC action. Now, we don't have many NPCs here. I'm going to go ahead. So far we have Lorne the horse, Swanvein the city, and I'm just going to write down other cult members. Local. I'll write down local cult members. That will just mean our cult members. Obviously, there's probably a vast variety of other cults in the area, but for the sake of this character list, it's going to be ours. Our fellows. Alright, so that gives us 3 options of which NPC is going to take the action. Now, it doesn't mean it's a good action or a bad action. It just simply says NPC action. So, I'm going to roll a D6 to find out which NPC. And that is a 2. That is our horse. Okay, our horse. The random event is our horse taking some type of action. So we're going to roll naturally on the actions table. This could make a lot of sense. This could be kind of silly. Alright. We haven't made it to the city yet. So a 50 and a 60 on the actions table. Let me get this right. NPC action. And then our words are 50. Hinder, oh no. That's not good. And 60, normal. Hinder and normal. Okay. Now, since this is just a random event, it doesn't have to be pivotal, it doesn't have to be ground shaking, it doesn't have to be divine in any method. And the fact that one of the words was normal leads me to believe that we feel like, yes, we're getting close to town, but the hindrance, this normal hindrance that is happening of our horse is tired. We've been riding very hard the past few days. Fless has been riding hard these last few days. And Fless, she knows she's been pushing Lorne a bit further than he or she. Actually, is Lorne a male or female? Let's ask the fate chart. A 1 to 50, it's a male. A 51 and above is a female. So a 26, it is a male. So a male horse. Let me just kind of make a note of that. Horse, male. So Lorne, our male horse, has been pushed hard these past few days. Fless has been desperately trying to make it to this town. Maybe time is of the essence. The Shelynites are preparing something big. Maybe they're planning a counterattack. Maybe they're planning a counter spell. Maybe there's I'm having a lot of cool ideas. Maybe there's some type of festival coming up, an art festival or something in town, and this is the best time to strike them. There's going to be a lot more. I'm just going to write that down. I like that. Just coming off the cuff there. Alright, let me resolve this random event in my notebooks real quick. So the NPC action is hinder normal, and the horse is tired. Lorne is tired. So we're going to have to set up camp before we make it into town. And that will give us a little bit of time for Fless to reflect on why she's even here. Why has Lamashtu seen fit to send her out here? Fless's boots, and I see her having kind of maybe a small cape of sorts on the back of her very dark tanned leather, very assassin-y looking suit, very rogue fitting. She kind of fits that cliche pretty well. Let me get off this hideous look at the screen here, and at least get a picture of her up on the screen so you guys have something to look at. So Fless has been riding hard the last few days on her horse. She brushed the dust off her hands. She can see the heavy panting of Lorne beneath her. She can feel his pace slowing. She knows that this would be the best time to set up camp. She rides just a little bit further until she can see a small grouping of trees off to the left side of the main road here. A perfect place to set up camp. No fire, no tent, but a place for Lorne to graze in seclusion. But a place that she can still see the road from both directions. She hops off Lorne when they get to the edge of the tree line, and she walks him. She leads him by his bridle. Is that the right word? I am not an equestrian, so terms are very, very foreign to me. Anybody listening, I apologize. Anyway, she leads him into the woods, a good place, a nice little clearing. It looks like other travelers have had the same idea. This is the most opportune spot right before you get to the main city, but nobody is here. And she looks down and she checks the ground. Why not? Let's use this as a what's the word? An opportunity. I don't know why I couldn't think of opportunity. To use her her survival sucks. She's not good out in nature. No, her nature is a 3. Her survival is a 0. So if she's out in the woods alone, she's gonna. But that makes sense. She's cult related. She's used to society, groups of people, being in large towns. So the fact that she's coming to another large city is actually perfect for how I envisioned her and I guess apparently how I built her. Again, her survival's a 0, so I'll allow her to make a society roll on this one. I realize I haven't stated what the roll even is yet. She's just kind of, as she gets to this clearing with Lauren, she's examining the area just to see if anybody has been here within the past few days or not. That wouldn't be. I will say nature though, to kind of like look at grass, broken sticks, and like the depth, the erosion of the tracks over time. Well, it would help if I rolled. Ooh, 20. Oh wait, what am I rolling? This is a skill check, not a fate chart roll. So that is. She's gonna get a +3 for nature. I'm gonna make the DC before I roll. I need to need to get better at this. I haven't done this for a while. I apologize. So I'm gonna set the DC at, let's say, this is just simple roll, 13. Why not? So she'll need to roll 11 or better. Well, she does 18. So she sees that it has been a good few days, and this comforts her. She knows that she can actually sit down and rest without being too alert, too at the edge of her seat. She can relax just a little bit, just enough for her to get good rest. Lauren finds a good green tuft of grass, a good patch of it, and he begins munching down and kind of resting. Fless, pours an ample amount of water out into a small little, maybe she finds a log or something that can hold water, just enough for Lauren to drink out of, and she throws back a couple swigs as well, finishing it off. That's the last of the water. That's the last of the water, Lauren. Until we get to the city tomorrow. Do I have any rations left? Let me check my pack. I know you had a big lunch. I'm gonna try to play her evil, but I can't do evil people, so I don't know. She likes her horse buddy. I don't know. She gave it a name, so she has to at least sort of like it. Do I have any rations left? 50-50. Ooh, a 66. That is above our chaos factor, so that is not a random event. And that is also a no, so she is out. She unrolls the little kind of handkerchief that she had her snacks wrapped in. All that's left are just crumbs, bits of crumb from bread and some other dried goods that are good for traveling rations. She kind of licks her fingers and kind of pokes at the crumbs on the cloth, and she gets the little morsels she can off of it before rolling it up and stuffing it back in her bag. Well, whatever. I have enough to get me through until we get there tomorrow. Enjoy your grass, Lauren. She unrolls her little bedroll, finds a level spot, a little bit of grass for a little bit of cushion underneath. She does not look for luxury. That would defeat the purpose of this. So she lays down and she gets a night's rest. Now that, I couldn't think of a better opportunity to stop that right there. I'm already going on 40 minutes. But I liked that. Alright, we'll get to something else here. I'll get some more visual aspects maybe done up before next time, but that was awesome. We got a lot figured out about Fless. Horse name, we got a city name, I need to write that down. I will write down after I stop the video, but we have an actual thread, so that's going to be stop the Shelynites. Shelynites. We'll just keep that as a very, very vague thread. But thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to getting more into this story. Thank you very much, and as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye, friends.